All right, I thought what I would do first is start with maybe an author search. And I don't want this to seem vain, but I'm going to purposely use me for a second, just because my name is extremely common. You'll see there that there's lots of Michael Joneses. And if I did a search here, you'd see that there's lots of them. This is me right here. That's I know that there's many Michael Joneses because whenever I come into the country, into the United States, they always stop me because they think I'm a different Michael Jones that's wanted on some FBI list or something. Michael Jones is not even near the most common name. If we take like a Chinese name like Li here, we end up getting lots and lots of different authors with the same last name. And I could click through here to try to determine which one I was looking for. It might be better to use a name that is a little bit less common, but for which there's actually two, and someone who's at your institution. So Fernando Miranda, there are two Fernando Mirandas listed in our database. This one right here that's already sort of highlighted is the one who's in your Center of Mathematics. And this is his author profile page. So it lists his MR author ID number up here, what his earliest publication was, how many publications are in our database, how many citations we have in our database to his articles. You can see here co-authors. We can look at publications, the Math Genealogy Project, and citations. And there's also sort of a graphic down here that looks at the distribution of the publications. So Fernando works in a number of different areas. And then you can also see how that distribution is for the number of citations. Some of this information is going to be updated in the course of this year. It may have been updated already if we weren't in a shelter-in-place order and working remotely, where our IT department has had to change what their most important tasks are to make sure that we can keep MathSciNet working as we work from home. But we are redesigning some of this information and getting rid of sort of these graphics. We're doing things differently. And when I show you the current index of statistics later on, that will give you a little bit of an insight to some of the changes that are coming to MathSciNet. So what I'd like to do from this page is check some of the other links here. So if you look, I can click on Fernando, his Math Genealogy Project. You can see his advisor, who's actually in our group right now, Lisa Santos. And we could then see that his PhD was in partial differential equations, etc. We could hop through here if we wanted to and see where Lisa received her PhD and who her advisor was. So I'm going to pop back over to the MR author ID page, and let's look at some publications. So if I click on the publication links, from here I can list everything that's in our database for Fernando Miranda. You can see like this item right here, this first item is reviewed, and we see who the reviewer is. Hopefully you can see my screen. I'm moving the cursor around. And I'll try to move it so it's maybe easier to see and it is a little bit more visible. So up here on the first item in this list, we see has been reviewed. A number of these articles have been reviewed. This one down here, which was a correction, was just indexed. You'll notice on the left-hand side, we have what are called facets, and these are relatively new within the last couple of years. It allows you to narrow the search. So there's a list of 20 items in this list. We could break it down by institution or authors and co-authors, or based on the primary classification. Was it a, like this article here, this was a 37 paper, so in a dynamical systems, it was viewed as a dynamical systems paper, or any of the papers that have a 35 primary, which is partial differential equations. So if you see here in that primary classification, I could narrow down the search of those articles, and also to what the journal is or what year the article was published. So those facets allow us to narrow our search. We can also search within the results here if there was a keyword that we were looking for. I'm going to back to the MR author page and show you some of the other things that we get from here. I'm going to focus here on citations, and we can see what articles are being cited in our database. And we can also see how many times they were cited. If I click on the article itself, on the MR number, that will bring us to an entry. So I'm going to select this, maybe this third one down here. So if I pick this third one that has 8 citations, it will bring up the review, which was a pretty short review. Up here in this right-hand corner here, there's a little box, and it'll indicate who's citing this paper. If I click on this, then I can see the different articles that are citing this work. I'm going to go back to this page for a second. This was the review of that article where we sort of citation hop. Actually, let me go back to that list of citations for a second. From this, I could now look at another review down here, sort of 2/3 towards the bottom of the screen. I'm going to click on that review for a second. This paper was reviewed. It has its reference list. So this was a reference list journal. And if I wanted to, I could then click on any of these MR links that would take me to the review of the paper from the reference list journal. And so for this, I think of this as sort of citation hopping. If I think that a paper that was referred to in another paper may be interesting, then I can get there directly from the review, from the references of the review. All right. Let's go back to the MR author ID page. And I'm going to focus over here. We have the co-authors. And if we look at the co-authors, one of them is Lisa Santos. I'm going to click on hers. I want to focus on a difference between their MR author profile pages. You can personalize this page up here in the corner where it says edit author profile. If you have a AMS account, then you're able to edit your profile and put in a picture over here, as well as your email address or maybe a web address. Lisa has done that with, so when I click on that, I get all the papers that are co-authored between her and Fernando. And if I click on her name here in this first entry, or anytime it appears, that will pull up her MR author page. And you'll see that she has her email address listed. And if she wanted to, she could also include a web address here, as well as a picture. And likewise, we see here's her co-authors, the same type of information that we had before from the earlier, from Fernando Miranda's MR author page. So I'm going to quickly just show you one more of these pages. This is the executive editor of mathematical reviews, and you see that he includes a website here. You can also include your full name in native script, which for him is just his name in English. And then he has a picture